Hello, UTRGV. I'm Ronnie Garcia with the UTRGV Career Center, and I want to welcome you to Engineering Week. Today is Career Development Day. As a part of Career Development Day, this is our prime session. We are going to introduce you to opportunities for the U.S. Department of Defense. As a reminder, please keep your microphones muted. If you have a question, there will be a Q&A section of this presentation. You can also ask your question in the chat. As a reminder, we want to make sure that you keep your questions limited to opportunities, scholarships, or research regarding U.S. Department of Defense. We will also have in the chat a link for you to check in. This check-in will be shared with your college. At this moment, I'd like to introduce you to the College of Engineering Computer Science Associate Dean, Dr. Islam. Dr. Islam?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our prime session with the DoD about our research and I think internship. And I'm very fortunate to live welcome in the YouTube channel. And for this Career Development Day, we are doing on behalf of our Engineering Week. So happy Engineering Week. Most of the time, in the last week of February, we always celebrate in the whole nation as a Engineering Week. And that is, this Career Day is one part of this. Let me introduce our DoD counterpart, which is Mr. Louis Lopez. Louis is the Director of the Department of Defense STEM, Defense Laboratories and Personnel. And it is under the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering. Welcome, Louis.
Thank you, Dr. Islam, and thank you to Dr. James Lee and Mr. Ronnie Garcia for allowing us to address your students today to talk about the opportunities within the Department of Defense. I want to thank my colleagues for making this possible, and they certainly have a lot to share with you today about the opportunities that each of their respective agencies under DoD has to offer. I just want to talk briefly about, why is the Department of Defense invested in the STEM workforce of the future? As the largest employer of STEM professionals across the federal agencies, we employ about 47% of the scientists and engineers across the federal agencies. Our defense laboratory enterprise, we have 63 defense laboratories and centers spanning across 200 locations across the United States and globally. It is important for us to invest in the STEM talent of the future just as much as we invest in future technology and defense of our country. So shortly you will hear from the Army. I'm sorry, Dr. Lee, if we could show the charts now. If we could go to the next chart, please. So shortly you will hear from Dr. Donna Burnett and Mr. Brian Leftridge from the U.S. Army. You will also hear from Dr. Williams and Dr. Mitchell from Office of Naval Research. You will also hear from Dr. Oscar Martinez from the Air Force Research Laboratory and Ms. Karen Felton with the SMART Scholarship. So with that, we can go ahead and pivot to our first presenter, Dr. Donna Burnett, over to you.
All right, can everybody see me? Excellent. Well, thank you for having me today to speak about the Army Educational Outreach Program, Apprenticeships. My name is Donna Burnett, and I am based at the Rochester Institute of Technology. I facilitate a team that manages the AEOP apprenticeships on behalf of the U.S. Army. All right, next slide, please. So much like Louis just mentioned, the Army is interested in STEM programs that effectively engage, inspire, and attract the next generation of innovators. And expose them to DoD STEM research and careers. So this is why I have the best job in the whole world, because I get to inspire, expose, motivate, connect young people with the next step in their path for their education and their STEM career. So the AEOP facilitates a consortium of partners that brings together subject matter experts from the DoD, academia, and industry with shared STEM interests. The AEOP enables the Army to be as strategic and intentional with its investments, capitalizing on best practices and lessons learned from partners and broader networks. We offer hands-on STEM enrichment programs, competitions, and paid research experiences. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. We're going to do a deep dive for the next 6 minutes into paid research experiences. So what are you doing this summer? Why not immerse yourself in a world of research? We have locations nationwide for the AEOP Summer Research Undergraduate Apprenticeships. These are at U.S. Army Research Laboratories and Centers and university labs where the research is sponsored by the Army Research Office. You can be part of the long history of discovery and innovation for the benefit of the nation. We have a wide range of projects drawing on all STEM disciplines. And while today is focusing on summer apprenticeships, there are also semester and year-round apprenticeship opportunities. Next slide, please. So why do this? What are the benefits? Number one, stand out from your peers. Make that resume jump to the top of the pile. Be in the room where it happens. There's nothing like the buzz and the energy of the laboratory. Mentorship is the AEOP's special sauce. I'm going to dig into that more later. This is research that matters. You're going to receive ongoing support and you'll earn a stipend for your experience. Next slide. So let's dig a little bit into mentorship. So one of the special things about the AEOP apprenticeship opportunities is that you're going to work under the mentorship of a professional scientist or engineer. This will allow you not only to build technical skills, but learn about the education and career paths in STEM. So figuring out what's next, you're going to start to build your network, and this is going to matter for the rest of your life. Second, receive ongoing support. You're going to be able to connect with other AEOP apprentices who are at locations throughout the country. You're going to participate in AEOP's webinar series that highlights hot STEM careers, research areas, and next opportunities. And you can attend virtual workshops to build the skills required for graduate school applications and/or your job search. So this is more than just being isolated in a lab and meeting the people at that location, but you're going to build your network across all of the AEOP apprentices. And this year, we're going to have undergrad apprentices at more than 70 locations. Next slide, please. As mentioned, we're at locations throughout the country. So how can you figure out where those locations are? That's what we want to hear from you, Donna Burnett. Well, I want you to see the link there. And if Brian Leftridge can post that in the chat, that would be helpful as well. This is the list for the up-to-date locations and project descriptions. So it's actually a Google list so that we can refresh it regularly. You can sort it by state that you're looking in, and it has a description for every different project that's offered this summer. The list also includes any special application or eligibility requirements. What I mean by that is some applications require letters of recommendation, some don't. Some may say you need a certain amount of school, some won't. So all of that detail for each specific site is in the list. Next slide, please. So important takeaways. This is a brief talk, but I think I'm going to give you the take-home message right here. So the application deadline for the AEOP undergraduate apprenticeships is March 15th. That's a general deadline. If a site requires recommendations, you will need to have those in by March 15th as well. Some locations do have earlier deadlines, like the Army Research Laboratories deadline is the 28th of February. So make sure you do check out that list of locations because it will provide all those details. Program information in the application is available at usaeop.com. The link that takes you to the undergraduate apprenticeships is posted there. Brian just shared in the chat the link to the location and project descriptions. And we do offer info sessions. So if you can't get enough of me and you would like to have more information about the apprenticeship program, as well as a deep dive into the application process, please sign up for one of our info sessions. We have one tonight at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we have Monday nights for the next 2 weeks. Also, please follow us on social media. We provide up-to-date information. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And that's it for me. Next slide. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. You can go to the next slide, please. My name is Reggie Williams. I'm with the Office of Naval Research. I'm here with Dr. Kristen Mitchell. Together, we manage the Naval Research Internship Program. So Naval Research Enterprise Internship Program for undergraduate and graduate students, and the Science and Engineering Apprenticeship Program for high school students. Next slide. So for the purpose of this conversation, you're interested in our NREIP or NREIP program. Here on this page, you can see the number of laboratories across the country where we sponsor our students. We have typically some 750 students who participated in the program during the summer, usually from about May to the beginning of September. As you see on the West Coast, we're primarily in California, and then on Washington, and then on the East Coast, mostly in the Washington, D.C. area, Florida, as well as in the Northeast. And then we also have a few locations in Texas, Arizona, and then some few places in the Midwest, or slightly to the Midwest, if you will, in Ohio and Indiana. Next slide. So on this page, you'll see why are we doing NREIP and CEAP programs? The purpose of our program is to take you as a student, have you stand side by side with one of our scientists and engineers at one of our laboratories, so you can land you can understand first place how to work with our scientists and engineers and learn firsthand, that is, some of the most interesting science and technologies that the Navy has to offer, and Marine Corps. All of our students work on naval relevant real life problems with our scientists and engineers. Most of our students receive a security clearance upon participating in the program. And most of our students have to be a US citizen in order to participate. We do have a few labs that allow you to be a permanent resident, but most of the labs require you to be a US citizen. Again, the purpose of the program is to encourage students to participate in DON science and technology, and also to hopefully, our goal is to entice you to become one of our scientists engineers upon graduation. We want to enhance your education by using mentors, standing side by side by you. And we also do a lot of cohort activities over the summer program. Again, we want the experience for you to walk away with some knowledge, not only just understanding what the Navy Marine Corps do, but you have a better grasp of science and technology, of STEM, when you go back into your classrooms. Typical students we have in our program is mostly juniors and seniors, but we do have some freshmen and sophomores. And we also have graduate students. Roughly out of the 750 students in our program, about 150 are working on their master's and PhD. Stipend levels. So first year undergraduate student will receive $7,000 for a 10-week internship program. And then for a returning undergraduate student will receive $8,500 for a 10-week program. And then for the graduate students, whether it be on their master's or PhD, for the 10-week program, you'll receive $11,000 stipend. For all of our students, depending on what mentor you have, you may be requested to offer an additional 4 weeks to that 10 weeks for a total of 14 weeks. An additional 4 weeks will be prorated. Bottom of the screen, we're currently going through a transition of contractors. So you see at the center of the bottom of the screen here, we have two contractors listed, ASEE, which is our contractor we had for many years, and we're moving to Saxman 1. Both of those websites should be live now. And if you want to find a lot of detail existing today, go to the ASCE website, nrep.asc.org. You'll find a lot of more detail on the program. And you also find a lot of detail on each of the laboratory sites, whether it be Naval Air or NAV Sea, or Naval or NAV War, which is C4RSI. We also work with our Naval Historical Society, our Navy Undersea Medicine, etc. Next slide. So for the next 3 slides, I just want to give you a feel for some of the science and technology that students produce. You can find these on the ASC website. I just have them listed here. These are eye charts, but the purpose is to show you what the variety of science that we do. The first top left one is at our Diomi site in Florida. That's our defense equal opportunity management. So we do science and technology is applied to gender science and social science as well. Top right is cyber electronic warfare. Bottom left is our Naval Historical Society. Here we have a researcher, one of our interns who actually worked on trying to remove chlorine from sunken naval vessels. Bottom right is our NAVAIR, Naval Air Systems Command, where we look into hypoxia with our naval fighters with high altitude flight and lack of oxygen. Next slide, please. Top left here on this slide, excuse me, on the Navy is across the globe, as you know, whether undersea or on the sea, on land or in air, and in space. In the top left here, you'll see we're interested in the changes in the climate due to warming temperatures and the navigation of what used to be ice-filled portions of the northern hemisphere, which are now opening up, which will change the way we navigate our seas. On top right, again, Naval Experimental Diving Unit, that's in Florida, Panama City. We're interested in seeing the deprivation of oxygen to our master divers. And on bottom left, here's a hands-on application for our Naval Air Warfare Center, where we're looking at a long-term problem with our E-2 surveillance aircraft, looking at water intrusion on one of our actuators. And the student here was working on solutions to that problem. Again, real world problems, real world solutions. And on bottom right on this one, we're also interested in forecasting. The Navy is one of the premier organizations that does forecasting, working side by side with NOAA and other organizations. And the final slide. Next slide. On top left here, we're looking at non-destructive testing, looking at a fuel rod there, a fuel pump. And top right, additive manufacturing is a big area of interest for the Navy, the ability to repair damaged parts while at sea. And here the Navy has actually implemented additive manufacturing equipment at sea on board submarines as well as aircraft carriers to repair small parts that break at sea, which normally have a long-term time for repair. They can do this within a couple of days. Bottom left, of course, the Navy is interested in energetics. Here we have one of our students working on improvement with existing energetic material over at China Lake. And then on the bottom right, we're looking at the Marine Corps was interested in looking at the ability for a Marine to have communications, long distance communications, where here you have a UAV that actually goes up and becomes an antenna for a small unit, and then the actual Marine can have communications with the entire organization. And the next slide. So thank you. Again, visit our website. You'll find more information about what we're doing. Again, we're going through a transition of contractors. You can visit the ASCE website. You can visit the Saxman 1 website, where you can find more detail, or you can email myself or Christian Mitchell if you want more information. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Martinez. Oscar?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, next. All right, I'll start with a brief introduction of myself. I'm a scientist, program manager, and internship coordinator for the Air Force Research Lab, which supports both the Air Force and the Space Force. You'll see what I've gone through here is currently what you're facing here. I've gone through school, I've done internships, and I have experiences of all aspects of internships, including from being an intern, being a mentor, and of course, running one of the DoD's top-notch research internship programs. Dr. Burnett and everyone else before me highlighted some excellent points regarding the importance of internships, but I wanted to kind of focus my presentation here, my view, from your point of view, steering you through some of the navigation that you should conduct to secure an internship with us. So if you go to the next slide, please. We have quite a few internship opportunities. So on one hand, it can be quite confusing. There's a lot of different opportunities, but that's actually pretty good, right? Because that tells you that there's a significant portion of opportunity with us. But of course, it makes it a little hard to navigate. So you'll see here, I took some screenshots from some of our websites. If you go to afresearchlab.com, you'll get to one of our websites. And if you click on careers, there's a segment there for students and faculty. You can start there by seeing the variety of a variety of the opportunities that we have all over the place. If you go to the next slide, please. So we have locations all over the US and of course, all over the world. But if we focus here on the opportunities in the US, we have directorates, which are essentially just locations that focus on specific type of research. And so we have a sensors directorate, we have a human performance wing directorate, space vehicles, aerospace systems, information, materials and manufacturing, directed energy and munitions. And so you'll see the different locations. I apologize for the map here where it's hard to see, but you can see the general idea that we have locations all across the US. Next, please. So these are the multitude of opportunities we have, everything from the Scholars Program, which is the top one there that I run. And I'm assuming these slides are going to be shared with you, but you can also find this content on the website, as I mentioned. We have a number of programs, Consortium Research Fellows Program, Defense Associated Graduate Student Innovators. Anyways, you can see sort of the way they're organized here. You can select what programs are applicable for you, and also decide on what locations are relevant to you. So if you're a high school student, of course, you'd pick from the Scholars Program or the Legacy Program or the Oak Ridge Institute for Science and Education. Grad students, undergrads, they all have different programs that are available to them as well. Next slide. And of course, the internships, fellowships, apprenticeships, everything that we have to offer covers a broad range of background, everything from aerospace, astronautics and astronomy, biosciences, data science. So you can see here, the locations on top are the two-letter initials that we use to identify directorates. So the first one at the top is the Human Performance Wing. RD is Directed Energy. RI is the Information Directorate. But you can see who essentially hires what type of background by the numbers. Now, if you go to the next one, please. Now, back to this website, if you were to go ahead and continue and actually start inputting your information there, and by inputting your information, I just mean you're selecting what you're interested in with the little selection buttons. Go to the next slide. You can end up, for example, with one of the programs here, which is the Scholars Program. This is one of the programs that I manage. This is the Scholars website. And of course, there's a link to this website from the other master site. But you can see, you can find a lot of similar information here, but all the information on this website is pertinent or relevant rather to the Scholars Program itself. And so some of them have different stipends, some of them might have different locations. Of course, there is some considerable overlap between the two, so or between all of them. So I'd encourage you to apply to as many as possible. But if you go to the next slide here, I wanted to give you an example on, again, one of the programs, sort of an example of some of the research that is listed on the website. So you can see here some of the categories are, there's an advanced global positioning system technology support project. There is an advanced global positioning system, two projects with GPS. There's also advanced guidance, control law development. So these are just examples of some of the research that you can get involved with hands-on. And of course, a lot of the research does end up with significant experience, be it patents, publications, that sort of thing. So it's an excellent opportunity. And if you go to the last slide here, here's the opportunity to ask questions either now or later. And of course, my contact information. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Louis, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martinez. And next up, in our last presentation is Ms. Karen Felton with the Department of Defense Smart Scholarship Program. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Louie. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here to talk about the Science, Mathematics, and Research for Transformation Scholarship for Service Program. Long name. What it means is that the DoD has an opportunity for you to obtain a full scholarship and with guaranteed employment at the end of it. Next slide. I'm gonna press enter and put in the chat the link to our website so you can get more information. Next slide, please. So what does the SMART program entail? We fund the scholarships for students like yourself that are interested in pursuing STEM. As been said before, we want to create a pipeline to the DoD workforce. We need your innovation, we need your creativity, and we need your interest in STEM so that we can grow future leaders. The SMART program awards scholarships for bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees, and those awards are a minimum from 1 year to 5 years. And how this works is that upon the conferral of your degree, you will have the opportunity to have a full-time employment with your sponsoring lab and or facility, and that service commitment is based on your year of funding. So basically, if you get 2 years of funding, then your payback to that DoD facility is 2 years. Next slide. As we walk through this information, again, I reiterate, it is all on our website, but the 21 STEM disciplines are here. As you can see, as said before by my peers, we have STEM degrees all the way from aeronautical and astronautical engineering all the way to physics. Next slide, please. Want to share with you just a little bit of background about the program. We have awarded since the beginning of the program over 3,000 scholarships. We have a 91% success rate of all of our scholars completing their service agreement, and they represent universities, over 260 universities and 206 facilities and DoD laboratories across the United States. We've successfully graduated over 2,000 scholars. So we're very proud of our achievements, and we're hoping that you could be added to this list of data. Next slide, please. So how can you be how are you eligible? How can you have this great opportunity? First, you must be a US citizen, be 18 years of age, have a minimum GPA of 3.0, and again, desire to pursue a career in STEM, one of the 21 that were mentioned earlier, be able to obtain and maintain a security clearance and participate in a summer internship from 8 to 12 weeks, and then be able to accept employment with the DoD at the conclusion of your degree and be able to have a time commitment of 1.5 years. Next slide, please. So the benefits. I love this slide because I start with full tuition. The SMART program offers awards full tuition for the college of your choice as long as you are pursuing, again, one of the 21 STEM disciplines. We offer an annual stipend, $25,000 to $35,000, depending on your degree pursuit, and summer internships. I want to rest here for a second. Everyone before me has mentioned the benefit of summer internships, and we want you to not only share your work and sort of relate your academic pursuits to what's happening real world in DoD, but we want you to acclimate yourself to the facility. We want you to become involved in what's happening, understand the mission set for the Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Army, as well as understand how you fit into that mission and that environment. We offer book and health allowance, and an experienced mentor that's going to develop you. We've all had mentors. I still have mentors. You can't go this journey alone in STEM, and we know it's hard, right? And so we want to have someone there with you alongside you. This person is either going to be in your department, is going to be someone who is also or has experience or pursuing the same research as you, someone in your lab, and they're going to be there to answer questions and to, again, help you in your journey as a DoD employee. And then last but not least, employment with the Department of Defense. Next slide, please. And so this chart basically just shows you where we are across the United States. We have laboratory sites, medical facilities, Army Corps of Engineering sites, intelligence community sites, test and evaluation, again, across the United States. This is just sort of summarizing those that we have. Next slide, please. So the life cycle of a scholar. I won't rest here too long, but it does show from phase 0 all the way to phase 3. So you start with an award. You have orientation. We acclimate you with the program. We acclimate you with people that are there to answer your questions. We have site visits so that you can see where you're working. Now in this time frame, they're virtual. So we do our very best to ensure that you have enough information as you start your journey. That includes background checks. Phase 1, academic pursuit. You're a full-time student, grinding it out with those courses, doing well, participating in internships. And then in phase 2, you're graduating, you turn that tassel to the other side, and then you transition to full-time employment. And then finally, you're retained in phase 3 after you complete your service agreement and hopefully stay within the DoD workforce. Next slide, please. This is another opportunity that we have, a new program called our Smart Scholarship Seed Grant, where we offer funding for doctoral students so that they can establish themselves with research and engineering efforts in their specific area of interest at their laboratory. If you just look to the right and just look at the disciplines that these folks are pursuing, it is amazing research that they're doing. We're also encouraging them, as well as you, to be interested in one of the 10 to 11 modernization areas. So we're very happy about that program. Next slide, please. And last but not least, these are faces. We talk about the scholars, but these are actual individuals that have successfully completed the program that are now giving back in phase 3. What I love about this slide is that each individual is not just a testament to what you can achieve in the program, but they give back. We don't just award scholarships solely because we want to populate DoD. We want to grow leaders. Each one of these individuals gives back to STEM. They're either mentors with FIRST Robotics, Girl STEM programs. They mentor other smart scholars. So again, we're trying to grow the workforce, but we're also growing leaders. And these are just a few examples that we have to share with you, our success stories. Next slide, please. And last but not least, as everybody has said, we are on social media. All social media platforms, please follow us. You actually get to see featured highlighted scholars, their sponsoring facilities, their mentors, and the great work that we're doing. Again, www.smartscholarship.org. Please go to the website and you will have all the information at your disposal. I mentioned in the chat, we have our Fostering a Community of Diversity webinar tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. You can register on the website for that as well. Look forward to seeing you. And if you have any questions, I'll look for them in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen. And I believe this is our last chart, and I'll just put this up here, and then in a few seconds we'll get questions from folks, since we have about I believe 10 or 11 minutes. But again, I just want to say thank you to all of our presenters today, from Dr. Burnett to Dr. Williams, Dr. Martinez, Ms. Felton. Outstanding presentations, and I know we had a lot of information to push, but the bottom line is, there are a lot of opportunities within the Department of Defense. Our DoD scientists and engineers do some amazing and awe-inspiring research and engineering in our defense laboratories across the country and globally. And I hope that you take advantage of these opportunities and check out some of the information that we provided to you today. So with that, we'll pause and see if there are any questions from the group.
Well, I see lots of questions in the chat box. I don't know if either Dr. Islam was following on the questions. Dr. Islam, Joanne. There is one question, Louis, which is regarding, if they can apply to this internship if they have graduated with a bachelor as right of now, not pursuing a master's.
So Dr. Lee, I believe that was answered by a couple of our speakers.
Oh, okay.
That they could apply. I'm not sure what the statute of limitations is as far as how many years since they've graduated, and that depends on the various programs that we have.
Okay.
Speakers, you guys want to chime in?
I'll chime in. I believe the question was, can you apply to the program with a master's degree? And of course, as we stated, we offer awards for bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. And there is no statute of limitations on in the SMART program. I did not mention the application season for the program starts in August. So don't worry about it. You have plenty of time to prepare and learn and get more information and be ready for our application season coming this fall. Over.
And we did just get a question, prior service benefits, that's in the chat.
So who would like to jump in first? And let me see, that's kind of a broad question. So prior service benefits to these internship programs, I believe is the question.
Yes.
Okay, I'll let some of my colleagues answer, but I believe I do want to mention that prior service pursuing any one of the STEM disciplines mentioned, I'm sorry. There are some programs that do support veterans in STEM, and actually just recent as February of 2020, there was a law passed. It was Supporting Veterans in STEM Act. So there's a push to get veterans into STEM opportunities and into the STEM workforce, not just within DoD, but across the federal agencies. That's NASA, NSF, Energy, and so on. Anyone else want to add to that?
So I actually have a question. So is there a different process for students with disabilities who want to participate in an internship or a career with the U.S. Department of Defense?
If you don't mind, I'll start for the SMART program. As part of our application process, we do obtain and try to get that and capture that information. And so I don't think we have any limitations on disabilities. That's information that we collect and make sure that if that person makes it through to a finalist, that those accommodations can be made. Over.
Just to jump in there, it's the same for the AEOP, as well as the question about prior service. We'd want you to indicate that on the application. And just to note, our application window is currently open through March 15th. Thanks.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a question, maybe a suggestion. I mean, this is a great presentation from our DoD friends, and also thank you so much for the effort putting up this whole team. But my question would be, is it possible, for example, we set up a portal in either in our college, in the university career center, so that the student can go through one X contact points and they would get over to all this excellent opportunity we have instead of going to the different department, different, laboratory. So that's what I'm thinking we should do in the future, for our students.
So interesting you brought that up, Dr. Lee. We do try to update this as current as we can, but our DoD STEM website, which is dodstem.us, it actually provides a list of all the opportunities across the department and could be searchable by grade level, by type of activity, internship, apprenticeship, fellowship or scholarship, teacher professional development, and as well as opportunities for K through 12. And then it allows you to go ahead and click specific. Oh, hey, is that Ronnie bringing that up, or is that you, Dr. Lee?
I just shared this.
So if you go to participate and let me see, opportunities. If you scroll down, you can search by the different types of grade levels, by the types of activities, and then it will list all the activities across the department. So there are other opportunities that we could not just, we couldn't cover all in this one presentation, but I wanted to make sure that the biggest agencies that we have in the department, like the Army, Navy, and Air Force, are able to present their opportunities.
Great.
We do have a question on YouTube. We have someone asking, is there a way to get this presentation information?
Yes. Was that from Joanne?
Yes.
Are you talking about getting the this video?
The actual presentation that was presented? I think one of our YouTube viewers was just wondering if they would be able to get the information that was on the presentation.
Yes, absolutely. I think all of this is publicly releasable. So we shared it with Dr. Lee and Mr. Garcia. So feel free to share it to the participants.
Okay, great. And we did have a question in the chat. They're wondering if there are any opportunities for international students. If you could talk about that a bit.
Sure, I'll jump in first, and then I'll let my colleagues answer. For most of our for most of the internships that we have within the labs, it does require citizenship, and to some extent, some sites may accept legal resident status. I'm sure you can understand the sensitivity of the work that our scientists and engineers work on. So it does, for the majority of our opportunities, require U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, let me add before I give it to the rest of the team. Even if DoD would not be able to support international students directly, but that DoD sponsor research project, and then most of the research project, if I'm not incorrect, would not say you can support international students. Most of them would allow that. So you actually have you may have opportunity working with your professor, in some of the project they're working on.
That's a great point, Dr. Lee. There are probably in the billions of dollars of investment that the Department of Defense provide to universities, to university affiliated research centers. And certainly through some of those organizations and higher ed institutions, students can also pursue these types of opportunities. Over.
I just want to add for the Navy, you have to be a U.S. citizen in order to participate. A very, very few labs offer permanent residency, and you cannot have dual citizenship. And I just want to also, I forgot to mention earlier that our open season period for applications is typically August 1st through November 1st.
Joshua, did you have a question?
Oh, yes. My question was, like, in order to apply for these opportunities, can we just apply directly, or do we need to go through like our department at campus?
For the Navy, you apply directly. Just go to our website and you can apply directly. I would say go ahead now and go to the ASCE website, and you can receive notification when the application is open.
Okay.
I'll add to Dr. Williams. I'm sorry, Donna. Same for us. Please go to our website, and we post on social media when our application season starts to give you well enough time to get prepared. Thank you.
Okay.
And the same thing for the AEOP. And I just wanted to add that, we're all presenting these opportunities here, and there's so many great opportunities. And some students will do an apprenticeship with the Navy, an apprenticeship with the Army, then they'll apply to be a SMART scholar. So these are all in front of you. We're not trying to compete with each other over you for these opportunities. We sometimes seem like we're talking over each other just because of the method of presentation, but we're your team. We want the STEM talent in these positions. We want to help you get to those positions. So sign up for all the mailing lists. If you're doubting, will I get the opportunity? Will I not? Put your application in. It can't hurt to get the opportunity in front of you. So I encourage it. And reach out. All of us have contact information for questions on our websites. So reach out with your questions. We're here to support you.
Thank you.
So I do have a quick question to the SMART Scholarship Program.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the thing is, I'm a prior service, and I'm already using GI Bill. So I already got the VA paying for my student tuition. So my question, if I just want to enroll in an internship with the DoD, do I have to apply like online too and do the same thing? Because I already possess a TSSCI, and just like I mentioned, the college has already been paid for.
For the SMART scholarship, you would, in order to participate in an internship, you would need to be accepted as a scholar and receive the full award. It's a package deal for our program.
Okay. Thank you.
And we encourage veterans to apply too. We don't discriminate. Thanks.
Gotcha.
But Azam, to add on to that, Azam, it doesn't mean that you can't apply to any of the opportunities that were presented to you today, whether it's the Army, Navy, and Air Force. And, just as the great point that Donna mentioned earlier, we encourage you to apply to as many of these opportunities as possible. For the majority of the research topics that are critical to our national defense strategy, each of the different services have a different take, whether it's artificial intelligence, advanced and additive manufacturing, high-speed networks, whether it's biotechnology. Each of the different services have a certain focus in these types of research topics. So if you have an interest in a certain topic, research topic area, please, I encourage you to explore what the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and other DoD components have to offer and apply to these opportunities. Over.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. The thing is, I'm doing civil engineering. So actually, my main focus is like to work with Corp of Engineering, because I used to have a lot of friends, they actually DoD employee, and they work with Corp of Engineering. So that's why I'm seeking kind of like an internship with them.
Okay, so if you're in civil, I believe Corps of Engineers, and I believe the Navy also has a civil engineer in their corps. I'm not sure about the Air Force, but maybe Oscar can chime in. Over.
I can verify. We also do.
One more thing I want to share is that, in order to get into this internship program, the different opportunity we talk about today, it's a good idea you talk to your professor, right, and work with them and engage in some of their research project before you go to DoD labs, and you would, already get some experiences before you get there. You're more ready when you are over at DoD lab. So that what I would do, students, if I am a student, I would talk to my professor and see what they doing. And, eventually, if there's certain topic you interested in the DoD labs, you can also bring that up to your professor and see if he can, support you in different ways and get you ready.
Yeah, I'll add on to that. That's a really, really good point. That also helps not only prepare you, but of course get you the support that you'll need in your application. So often all of us will demand letters of recommendation, and so a professor speaking very, very well about you, especially in a research role, which is something that we're looking for, is really good, right? And goes a long way. So good point.
So Dr. Lee, I know we're well over our time, and I also want to be respectful of my colleagues. I've asked them until 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and thanks for staying past that time. But certainly we've enjoyed addressing your students this afternoon, and hopefully they'll take advantage of the opportunities that we presented.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing the whole team here. And I'm pretty sure I have a little bit of time to talk about the consortium. I will actually come back, and because we square with each other in terms of the topics we're talking about today. So I will come back and actually reflect to what you just presented in my part of the presentation. But before we move on, do we, Ronnie, is there something we need to do this, Joanne?
Yeah, actually, I was messaging Joanne right now. This would be a great opportunity for us to take a quick photo op of our special guest in their prime session, U.S. Department of Defense. So at this moment, I guess, if students or anyone who feels comfortable can share their screen, we're going to be doing a bees up and take a photo screenshot. So Joanne will be taking that. So Joanne, if you can give us the countdown.
Yeah, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and let's just say goodbye to our YouTube viewers because we're going to be stopping the live stream. Thank you for joining us.